Hey there, Michael Leckie back with you again on What's the Question series. In this series, we kind of talk about questions. Mostly I pull them, because I'm me, from my book, The Heart of Transformation, and some of the questions that are, changes in behavior that can maybe shift things in an organization. And this week, I'm taking a look at a couple of organizations that are governmental organizations, as opposed to non-governmental organizations I usually talk about. And one of the ones that comes to mind for me is even less about the organization and more about the leader. And again, yes, whatever your politics or views on this are, if you look at what's happened with President Volodymyr Zelensky of the Ukraine during the Russian war on the Ukraine, there's a lot of interesting things that he could have done. Clearly, in his role, it's got to be a nearly impossible role to be in as a leader, because in this case it is life or death, and unfortunately a lot of it. But when I think about his role and where he's come from, this is a man you remember was a comedian actually at one point, and he got into this role. He was in there when the Trump administration reached out and wanted information on, Joe Biden's son, all these different things. And he's had to make some interesting, really big world moves and decisions for a smaller country that was less, in the global eye all the time. And now he's in it all the time. And I think the question that he probably asked, I don't know that he read my book. If you're watching, let me know. I'm happy to send you a copy if you ever get a chance to read it. But I think one of the questions he must have asked himself is one that I highlight on my changing before protecting section, which is, how can I lead out loud here? And for me, this is the vulnerability question of how can I demonstrate what it is I'm looking for and hoping for in the people who follow me or whom I lead. So one of the things that he did is he's not kept himself safe. He's stayed. And he's in, obviously, mortal danger if at some point he is, caught or taken captive by Russians. In that, the track record of what's happened to people like that is not really very good. So he's put himself in real, daily mortal danger. But thinking, how can I lead out loud here? Is I can walk the talk, and I can be the first, and I can be in the front. And so he's not taken any of the opportunities or advantages he has to put himself ahead of everyday Ukrainians. He's put himself in the same position. Now, I don't know. I'm not someone who's fighting on the Ukrainian side and out there in the middle of war. I don't know how my constitution would handle that. It's such a world away from where I'm fortunate enough to live. But I have to think that the people that are out there every day putting their lives on the line for their country would not be doing it nearly as readily if they didn't have someone leading who was willing to do it as well. And so that question for leaders of how can I lead out loud here? How can I show the power of my own vulnerability is a really important one that I think that he has really shown very powerfully on a global stage, and a lot of admiration for that.